A judge is now facing charges that she allegedly tried to help a defendant.
January 12th, 2026, Phoenix, Arizona, 6:47 in the morning. That's the exact minute authorities shut the door on a missing person case, not because they found her, not because leads dried up, but just 47 minutes after the 911 call came in. Let that sink in. A human being disappeared, and the file was closed before most people even poured their first cup of coffee. Like her life just blinked out of existence. And no, this wasn't some paperwork mistake. This was a choice. Over the last 2 years, 31 young women vanished in this city alone, every single one between 18 and 27 years old. All of them worked overnight casino shifts, usually from 10 at night until 4 in the morning. And almost every case stalled, ignored, or straight up frozen before sunrise. The excuse never changed: voluntary departure. No meetings with families, no review of security footage, no calls to federal agencies. Just fast signatures and faster silence, moving way quicker than the truth ever could. But here's where things got uncomfortable. When investigators quietly followed the names that were erased, the trail didn't disappear. It exploded. It led straight to places that made no sense at all. Huge sums of money, millions flowing through offshore accounts, shady charities and shell companies that had no real purpose being there. On paper, everything looked spotless. Clean records, clean names, clean money. At least that's how it was supposed to look. But beneath the surface, it was straight-up cartel infrastructure, hidden in plain sight. The second that money trail started glowing, federal agents moved fast. They hit a quiet house tucked into a Phoenix suburb, the kind of place with trimmed lawns and friendly waves. Nothing flashy, nothing suspicious, but under the garage floor, that's where the truth was buried. They uncovered a tunnel built for serious volume, not just drugs moving by the ton, but people too, moved in groups, same path, same silence, same protection. This wasn't chaos, this was a system. And make this clear, this is not some random home invasion story. This is what happens when the people with access decide to open the door from the inside. No force needed when permission is already given. Now, before this goes any further, pause for a second. Look at the time where you are right now. Drop it in the comments and say which part of this story is already messing with your sleep. 6:18 a.m., Phoenix, inside the FBI Data Analysis Center. The graveyard shift is wrapping up when a priority alert hits a supervisor's screen. Not violence, not an arrest, not a raid. It was something colder, raw data lighting up in ways it never should have. The numbers just didn't make sense in the real world. Over a 24-month span, 31 women vanished in the same city, all between 18 and 27. Regular people, casino workers, cocktail servers, front desk staff, dealers. Every single one working that same late-night window, 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. That stretch when the city is alive, but nobody's really watching. And this is where it stops being just sad and turns straight up scary. It's not only that they disappeared, it's how fast the system erased them. Out of those cases, 26 were shut down in under 90 minutes. 14 of them didn't even make it past an hour. And every report, same exact label stamped at the bottom: voluntary departure. No interviews, no security footage checked, no alerts sent out, no search teams, nothing. It was like these women stepped off the map and the paperwork jumped right behind them. The analyst ran the numbers again and again, same outcome every time. The odds of this happening naturally were less than 0.00001%. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern, a blueprint, and every closed file carried the same fingerprint. Then one name cut through all the noise. Amina Osman, 24 years old, reported missing at 6 a.m. By 6:47, her case was sealed shut. Just 47 minutes later, that's less time than it takes most people to order breakfast. So ask yourself this: how does a human life get erased faster than a printer can even finish printing the page? So, who actually has the power to make a call like that before the sun even comes up? By 10:32 that morning, investigators stopped asking who signed the paperwork and started asking why. Because speed like that isn't free. Systems don't erase people unless someone is paying for the shortcut. That's when the forensic accountants stepped in, and what they found wasn't sloppy or loud. It was clean, quiet, and surgical. Exactly $4,280,000 funneled into 2 Cayman Islands accounts, 9 separate transfers, every move sliced perfectly to stay under automatic alerts. The money didn't come from one source, and that's the trick. It flowed through 2 logistics firms that barely existed outside a spreadsheet. No offices, no staff, just digital shadows. One was listed as a casino vendor tied to overnight operations. The other, a so-called family humanitarian fund, totally unrelated on paper, no public connection at all. But behind the scenes, both streams drained into the same offshore accounts like gutters feeding one sewer line. And the name attached to the legal records? The same name printed on conference banners and public filings. The same name presented as respectable and clean to the world. Amina Osman. She wasn't some shadow figure hiding in the dark. She was a respected Somali American judge, public record spotless, invited to speak about protecting immigrants and humanitarian causes, posing for photos at 3 human rights summits, always backstage, always controlled. But those accounts labeled as charitable mirrors, that was the pipeline. A quiet system built to shuffle cartel money without noise. At 10:58 a.m., analysts layered last night's drone footage directly over the financial timeline, and that's when everything snapped into focus. The case jumped off spreadsheets and slammed into real-world physics. Thermal scans showed the concrete floor of Osman's garage glowing 4.6 degrees Celsius hotter than the soil around it. Same heat, same time, every single night like clockwork. You don't need emotions to read that signal. Money moves, heat leaks, and nothing underground stays warm unless something is grinding non-stop. So ask yourself this: when court files disappear instantly and the ground stays hot till sunrise, which system is really doing the work? 4:47 a.m. in Phoenix. The block is dead quiet. Porch lights hum like nightlights for grown adults. Then 2 armored Humvees slide to a silent stop 3 houses down the cul-de-sac. No sirens, no drama. 16 federal operators step out without a sound. No doors slammed, no flashing strobes. Surprise is their first weapon. 10 are FBI SWAT, 4 DEA, 2 from a tech and explosive safety unit, and 1 ambulance waits a block away, engine off, completely invisible, standing by for whatever breaks loose next. They're hoping that call never comes. The target house looks exactly how it should. Manicured lawn, curtains pulled tight, no cameras, no alarms, no sirens. At 4:49 and 12 seconds a.m., there's zero movement inside. Then the front door goes in. One smooth breach, fast enough to work, controlled enough to stay quiet. Seconds later, the entry team floods the house like gravity pulling water downhill. clearing room after room with cold precision until they reach the master suite. At 4:49 and 40 seconds, Amina Osman is detained, standing by the bed in a bathrobe, hands visible, eyes wide, but no shock, no confusion, not even anger. She doesn't scream, doesn't run, doesn't ask for a warrant. It's like she's already rehearsed this moment 1,000 times before the door ever came down. No weapons aimed at her, no shouting, no Hollywood chaos, just cuffs locking in with clinical timing. While that's happening, the second team sweeps the property, and they find exactly what they expected: nothing. No paperwork explaining the money, no records about the docks, no trace of how people vanished so fast. That's when every head turns toward the garage. Timestamp 4:52 and 10 seconds a.m. The tech crew moves into the 3-car garage. On the surface, it looks normal. Space for cars, storage boxes, nothing out of place. But the heat maps and aerial scans already gave it up. They head straight to the center of the concrete slab, the exact spot where sensors picked up something active underneath. Timestamp 4:53 and 20 seconds a.m. A concrete saw is rolled in and powered up. The blade chews into the floor with a steady mechanical scream. Sparks fly, dust fills the air. 38 seconds later, the slab finally gives up. A thick chunk of pavement cracks loose and gets shoved aside at 4:53 and 58 a.m. The hole is open, and underneath, no dirt, no pipes, no crawl space, nothing that belongs in a normal house. It's a steel hatch, heavy-duty, reinforced, sealed tight, installed cleaner than anything a residential crew would ever touch, sitting perfectly flush like it was always meant to be there. At 4:55 a.m., they set a breaching charge. It goes off with a dull thud, pressure, not noise. The hatch swings open. A wave of warm, humid air spills out. It smells like chemicals and stagnant water, that thick, stale atmosphere you only find where machines run non-stop and daylight never reaches. At 4:56 and 30 seconds a.m., the lead agent leans over the opening and clicks on a light. The beam drops straight down, revealing a metal ladder descending rung after rung into the dark below. Straight into the black. The drop goes down 20 feet, about 6.1 meters, way deeper than any storage space has a reason to be. At exactly 4:58 a.m., tactical boots hit solid concrete. Their lights don't reveal a basement. They expose a tunnel, 8 feet wide, wide enough for 2 grown men to walk shoulder to shoulder without touching. That alone tells you this wasn't some backyard project. Steel I-beams rib the tunnel every 15 feet, holding the earth back like a reinforced spine. Electrical lines run clean and professional overhead. Surveillance lenses stare down the empty space. Vent systems hum steadily, pumping fresh air into a corridor that was never supposed to exist. The tunnel runs southwest, straight away from the house, pointed toward the open desert, past the edge of the city. The build quality says everything. This wasn't rushed. This was engineered, funded, and executed over years. Serious money, serious patience. The agents understand the scale instantly. The house above wasn't a home, it was a cover, a clean, boring facade, law-abiding on the surface, every detail designed to look normal while the real operation stayed buried. Below ground, everything moved unseen. Cargo, people, and supplies, completely out of daylight, one controlled transfer at a time. As the squad moves deeper into the tunnel, one thing becomes clear. The real question isn't whether safeguards failed, it's how long this system was allowed to run without anyone stopping it. This isn't about shock anymore, it's about timing. How often was this route active while the neighborhood slept peacefully above it? How many souls disappeared into a void that never showed up on a single map? When a quiet suburban house turns out to be a transit hub, the dirt itself becomes a weapon. You start asking the real questions. How many approvals got signed at the highest levels before one single footprint ever touched this floor? 6:12 a.m., deep beneath a silent Phoenix home. The tunnel opens into a chamber, and whatever happened here already stopped. The moment the lights hit the walls, the story explains itself. No resistance, no noise, no one scrambling to hide. The room is clinical, clean, deliberate. Sealed bales stacked floor to ceiling, shrink-wrapped tight with precision tape. This doesn't look like panic storage. It looks like professional freight staged for movement. When agents finish counting, the scale hits hard. 1,180 kilograms of product total. That includes 620 kilos of fentanyl, 410 kilos of cocaine, and 150 kilos of meth, all packaged to cartel standards and staged to move within 48 hours. There's no urgency here, no sloppy corners. This wasn't a long-term warehouse, it was a turnstile. Inventory parked briefly, waiting for the next green light. Standing in that chamber, one thing is obvious. Whoever ran this place felt untouchable. They trusted the clean house upstairs, the quiet street, and the paperwork shield to keep everything moving, long after the stockpile was supposed to disappear. The tunnel opens into a second bay, and the air changes instantly. Not from fumes, but from the feeling, the kind that sits on your chest. Flashlights sweep across 16 thin sleeping pads laid directly on the concrete, spaced with military-level precision, like someone calculated the bare minimum to keep a heartbeat going without wasting $1 on comfort. Iron restraints are bolted straight into the walls, permanent fixtures, not temporary. Empty water bottles litter the floor near scattered women's clothing, some folded carefully, others crushed underfoot. Shoes left behind. That tells you everything. Whoever was here didn't leave calmly. They were moved fast, without warning. You don't need a badge to understand this room. The purpose is brutal and clear. This wasn't built for visitors, it was built for cargo that breathes. On the far wall, scratched deep into the gray concrete, there's a name and a date, January 2nd, 2026, carved hard enough to last longer than the person who wrote it. A message left by someone who understood one thing: paperwork disappears, but concrete doesn't forget. Forensics move in immediately, swabbing the walls, the floor, the trash, the clothing, every inch documented. When the lab results come back, the silence hits harder than any sound. 11 DNA markers, 11 separate matches, all tied to 11 case files officially stamped voluntary departure. 11 people the system claimed walked away on their own. 11 names that were supposed to be ghosts. Standing in that space, the contrast is sickening. On one side of the complex, poison is weighed, stacked, and priced like gold. On the other, human lives were treated like inventory, counted, parked, and erased without hesitation. Human beings were logged by volume, restrained, held, and kept in limbo until someone they'd never meet made a call. They moved through the exact same underground route as the drugs, same tunnel, same silence, same shut-mouth protocol. And when they were gone, they vanished just as completely. So you have to ask the hard question: when toxins and people traveled the same hidden circuit, which one was easier to erase? Chemicals that leave residue, or lives already scrubbed from the system before anyone noticed they were missing? 9:41 in the morning. The city above is waking up, traffic building, offices filling. Down below, detectives open a leather notebook pulled from that underground operation, and in that quiet moment, the case stops being scattered dots. It locks together into one machine, clean, organized, ruthless. Inside the notebook are 139 names, each one written with care, aligned perfectly, standardized across every page. Every entry carries a dollar figure, never less than $38,000, never more than $47,000. Next to that, a receipt date, a transfer date, a shipping lane, logged with the cold precision of a warehouse manager tracking inventory, not human lives. The handwriting has no emotion, no side notes, no explanations, just data. This log was never meant for outsiders. It was built for people who already knew the routine, and now that routine is painfully clear. Step 1. Floor-level employees quietly identify women working overnight shifts, especially those without strong local support systems. Step 2. Paperwork gets manipulated to justify fast closures and silence. And from there, the system does what it was designed to do, efficiently, quietly, and without leaving fingerprints where anyone upstairs might look. Charges get filed, not to protect anyone, but to tighten the leash. That's step 3. Amina Osman dismisses the cases and signs off on voluntary exits, quietly pulling these women out of the legal system without noise or scrutiny. Step 4. Transport to the parking structure. Step 5. Down through the tunnel. Step 6. Moved across state lines and dropped into the void. When forensic teams finish crunching the numbers, the scale is jaw-dropping. Human trafficking profits nearing $6.1 million. Drug shipments valued at over $7.8 million on the street. A combined total of $13.9 million washed clean through shell corporations and fake nonprofits. And here's the chilling part. The notebook doesn't show chaos, no panic, no sloppy corrections. This wasn't people scrambling. This was a system running exactly as designed. Because machines like this don't survive on cruelty alone. They run on authorization, logistics, bureaucracy, signatures, schedules, office hours. So think about this for a moment. When an organization assigns a dollar value to a human life, schedules their movement, and erases them with a pen stroke, where does the crime actually begin? And how many layers were hidden behind polished desks and legitimate titles? Zoom out for a second. This story isn't really about tunnels, spreadsheets, or numbers on a page. It's about how fragile public trust becomes when institutions meant to protect people are quietly weaponized to erase them. What makes this so disturbing isn't just the size of the operation, it's how ordinary the process was. No chaos, no public violence, no explosions, just routine procedures, clean paperwork, and silence doing all the damage. This whole operation ran on paperwork, forms, calendars, and blind faith that people in power are always the good guys. That's an assumption most people never question until time runs out. It's a hard truth to face, but it matters. Danger doesn't always look like someone smashing through your door. Sometimes it shows up in a suit, flashes a badge, and holds a pen that moves faster than oversight can react. The moment we stop auditing the machine, it becomes effortless to turn it against the very people it was built to protect. That's how systems rot quietly. If this kind of reporting hits you, if you believe transparency, accountability, and staying alert still matter, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. These stories don't end when the recording stops. And before you bounce, drop a comment below. What time is it where you are right now? and which part of this story shook you the most?